Hi everyone, it's my pleasure to introduce you today to Leticia Martignon. Leticia is a communication strategy and marketing consultant that works with companies as well as starting entrepreneurs.
I work with two types of clients today. I am a communication strategy consultant, and I work as much with companies on their branding strategy, on their communication projects, as with small entrepreneurs, people that are starting out, or very small businesses, on their business strategy and branding strategy as well. I believe most entrepreneurs want to do it all. Too many things, believe they have to be everywhere in terms of the market in order to be able to survive or to make it happen. So the number one mistake, I believe, is a lack of focus, which in turn has an impact on the strength of your brand, of your message in general, and also on the results that you can deliver. If you want your brand to stand out, you should, before communicating anything, make sure that the brand corresponds to your values, that you have stripped it of all of the noise, the maybes, the nice to haves. You go straight to the point. The clearer your message around your brand is, the simpler it is, the easier it is to be understood and remembered. So I think that's the first step before you start communicating around anything. This means really getting to the bottom of what you as an entrepreneur believe in. It's a very personal question. You can't, as a start-out entrepreneur, separate a brand from you. You are the brand most of the time, especially if you do selling, administration, communication, everything. So the first exercise is to identify the values and the brand essence. And then you have to be very strategic about where you communicate. So the channels, the type of communication you use, and the language you use in the communication have to correspond to those values and to that brand essence. If all of this is aligned, and you are producing content that is meaningful to your clients, generally, a lot of the communication will take care of itself. If any of those things do not fit, it is more difficult for a client to grasp what your brand is about, remember it, and want to interact with it as well. Second part of the question. If budget is an issue for starting out a company, the most important piece, of course, is how do I get to bring in money as quickly as possible, but in a meaningful way. You don't want to wait tables as part of your business plan. That doesn't make any sense. But you do want to focus on the very simple but efficient tasks that will get you closer to making money. At the end of the day, and literally at the end of each day, you should be asking yourself, how much money did I bring in today? If you focus on the simplest ways to get some income, but also to establish your brand at the same time, you should be actually using actions. Those can be sales actions, those can be events, those can be partnerships that are using minimum effort and maximum impact. This is something that I teach to many of my clients and in groups as well. Is how do I decide between two actions? Well, you should always decide for the one that has the biggest impact compared to the effort you're putting in. Simply because as a often one-person company, you cannot put in an immense amount of effort on every action that you are doing. So we have to be smart about it. And there are often good ideas that have several possible executions. We should be choosing the one with the most impact. I believe the trick, the secret to managing it all is hidden in two actions that I always recommend my clients. One is delegate. So anything that you're not particularly good at, or anything that you are very uncomfortable doing, you should probably look into delegating. I know this is difficult because sometimes delegation means money, but I believe that it's the type of thing that will actually save you money in the long term. And people underestimate the cost of their own time. So another trick linked to that is, how about actually deciding how much your time costs? Many people don't have a response to that question. And they end up spending a lot of money unknowingly doing a lot of things that they shouldn't be doing. So this is the first, I believe, a very important thing. The second thing is also, and it's linked to that, there are things that you believe you can be doing and that actually you can either postpone or you can scratch altogether. And it's difficult for entrepreneurs to make that decision in the beginning because they feel, oh no, it is so important to, let's say, be on Facebook. It is so important to have events. It is very important to, what else could we think of? Write books or, be out there. So the question here is, what is really vital? It's linked to what brings in money, of course. In the beginning, you're surviving by, grasping little bits and pieces of the market, small contracts. So you should be really thinking about how to get to clients in the most efficient way, and then spend most of your time actually producing what you're wanting to produce. There are many ways of doing that, and in the startup business, you call it bootstrapping, which is, okay, what can I do, even if my vision is this grand company doing all of these things, how can I translate that into a very simple version of the same thing that can get me started making money, testing things, and finding out what is working and what isn't. So I think that if you run through these two exercises of finding out what you can delegate and finding out what you can scratch, you free up a lot of time. It's not always easy. So sometimes you need help doing that. And sometimes you need to hit the wall in order to decide, okay, maybe this wasn't enough. And most entrepreneurs that I work with have hit the wall once or twice or more times. So that's okay. It's not unusual. It means also that we're dedicated and passionate about what we do. But if we hit the wall too many times, then we might end up having to stop the project altogether. And this is what I try to help clients avoid, is to get to that point of no return when they go back to a fixed job or stop working altogether because they might be sick or very, very upset with the experience. Then, aside from these two big, I would say, exercises, other things that I encourage my clients to do is to time themselves, is to actually understand how much time I spend on a particular task. I used to have these incredibly difficult moments of thinking in the evening after having put my 3 kids to bed. Oh God, now I've got to clean up the kitchen. And the kitchen, with 3 young kids, it looks like a bomb hit it. So it felt like this immense task that would take my last bit of energy and probably an hour and so on and so forth. And I would go on, either trying to say, I'll do it tomorrow morning when I'm fresh, and then I would have all of these things to do, getting kids dressed, getting them to school, and the kitchen. Or I would do it in the evening, and it felt like a very long time, and it felt like a lot of effort. Until one day, I said, stop. I can do exactly, and I looked at the time, and I think it was, I don't know, might have been 7 minutes to 10 or something like that, or to 9 or whatever. And I figured, okay, I'll do the work exactly until the hour, whatever is left of the hour. Few minutes, and actually I got the entire kitchen done. So what had happened is that I had blown up this idea of having to do the kitchen into this huge task, which in fact was quite fast. I just had never taken the effort to look at the time and actually time myself. And after that, I started doing that with everything. Okay, I'll do my bills for 7 minutes. I'll do my administration for 7 minutes. I'll write emails for about 7 minutes. And it's incredible the amount of things you can do in 7 minutes. I've extended this exercise to my clients to 15 minutes as well. Depending on what task, you might even want to say, I'll do it for 30 minutes. I have a client who's in fashion, and she produces, some of the handmade pieces, made-to-measure pieces herself. And she didn't know how much time she would spend on a dress. And I said, you need to know, because you need to know how to charge for it. And she ended up using 30-minute brackets and said, however many 30-minute pieces I'll use, I will know how much the total time is to make a dress. It's more difficult to say, I will time myself, because many of us entrepreneurs are easily distracted. Many of us are very concentrated and focused on one thing. Either we jump from one to the other, or we focus on one. There seems to be nothing in between. So we forget to stop the timer. So we say, and again, I don't know. So if you set the timer to 30 minutes, a bunch of times, it will go off by itself and you will know. So this is a very useful task. And I think also it is important to, if you take a step back and you decide to embark on an activity, it's important to ask yourself, why am I doing this? And if in the answer the word joy, enjoyment, passion, fulfillment, realization isn't present, then you will have a problem. Because things will seem long, like the kitchen task, and so you will feel that you have no energy, you will feel that time is passing and you haven't gotten anything done. And in general, you will not get the energy to do things rapidly or efficiently if you don't have those elements. So this is also something I think which takes a bit of soul searching and not self-criticism. I don't really like that word. It's not very efficient. But a no-nonsense approach to yourself. Be really honest with yourself and try to understand yourself and accept yourself. And then decide to go for it. Because later on it's going to be more difficult. Once you've already got lots of commitments and activities going.
And can you give us 3 tips for someone who has just started a company?
I think one of the most important things is to know yourself. If you've started out a company, you are responsible of the well-functioning of the company, which is you. So you're responsible of yourself, your health, your financial well-being, your relationships, and obviously also, the activity itself. Most entrepreneurs have some kind of, one could call it condition. Actually, if you look at very successful entrepreneurs, a lot of them have attention deficit disorder. A lot of them might even be on an autism spectrum. You have an incredible amount of people that would, in let's say in a very structured environment, have difficulties, but excel as an entrepreneur. And these people, I believe, accept themselves with the shortcomings that they might have compared to others. Because every one of those conditions, if you want to call them conditions, or maybe a better term would be the way they function, their brain functions, comes with a lot of advantages. An entrepreneur is a hunter, so we need to be quick to understand. This is why we get distracted, right? We see a lot of things, we see opportunities, we want to evaluate all of them. If you understand this, how your brain functions, you will be able to use that to your advantage, as many others have done. The second, which goes along with this, is stop criticizing yourself. Very important. Self-criticism actually slows down the process of self-improvement. If you give yourself empathy, you say, okay, that wasn't so good, or I wish I had managed that differently, and you understand why you did manage it in this way. You can much faster go into, oh, interesting, here's the solution, rather than spending time feeling awful about yourself, which slows you down and which takes energy away from you. So these two are related really to understanding yourself and trusting yourself and loving yourself. And the third, I believe, which again, these are very much, I would say, of the personality order. This is really about who you are and who you want to be, is to understand where you want to go and whether that is in line with your needs and with self-respect. I think if you manage to get these things down at the very beginning, you actually avoid many, many pitfalls, many obstacles, many problems that a lot of entrepreneurs have, especially today, and especially if you're a woman, for instance, and you have a family and you need to manage all of this, or if you decide to leave a very, very good job, you will be faced with questions. You will be faced with your own voices that are saying, was this really a good idea, and am I doing the right thing? If you are aligned, if you know yourself and you're aligned with what you need and you respect what you need, all of those questions have very quick and very simple answers. And you will go through the experience of entrepreneurship handling problems as they are and not making up problems on top of them. You know, managing your finances, managing your administration, managing the market, managing clients is already a lot to do. Don't get caught up in managing your own sabotaging, little voice that is making it very difficult for you. You do have to have, I think, a very high level of self-awareness. And in fact, if you speak to professional startup investors, people that put millions into startups, they all look for CEOs that are self-aware. They know we all have strengths, we all have weaknesses, but we need to know about our weaknesses. And it's okay, we can handle them. But if we don't know about them, they will catch up to us and they will sabotage us, and that's when it becomes very difficult.
Leticia, thank you very much. It was really amazing to interview you. I think for a lot of our viewers it was very important to hear that, and I think they learned a lot. I did as well, again. So thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure to share ideas and share knowledge, and I'm very impressed with everyone who starts out and launches their own business, and if I can be of any help, I always am very grateful to be able to participate.